Once upon a time, in a sun-kissed kingdom glittering with marble streets and silver fountains, there lived a gentle girl named Cinderella, who spent her days caring for a grand but aging house, sweeping its mosaic floors, polishing its crystal windows, and tending to the quiet corners where shadows gathered like forgotten memories. And though she worked tirelessly, her heart remained soft and kind, for she believed deeply that goodness was a seed which always bloomed, even in the hardest soil. Yet, living with her proud stepmother, Lady Drusilla, and her two stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, was never easy, for though none of them were cruel by nature, jealousy had settled into the house like dust, silent, stubborn, and clinging, made worse by the stories the villagers whispered comparing the sisters' sharp tempers to Cinderella's gentle grace. And so the stepsisters grew defensive, then bitter, then lost in a maze of their own insecurities, believing that kindness made them lesser somehow, that softness made them invisible. But everything began to change the afternoon the royal messenger arrived with a trumpet blast echoing through the valley, announcing that the prince would hold a magnificent ball to find a companion who valued kindness, courage, and sincerity above all worldly charms. For the first time in years, Cinderella saw something flicker in Anastasia and Drizella's eyes. Not envy, but longing, the fragile, honest kind, the longing to be seen for who they truly were beneath all their bluster. As the sisters prepared for the ball, trying on dresses that rustled like wind in the rose garden and jewels that shimmered like moonlit water, something strange and magical happened inside them. Anastasia, while brushing her hair, whispered to herself that she wished she could apologize to Cinderella for the time she had spoken in anger, and Drizella, adjusting her shoes, murmured that she wanted, truly wanted, to be someone worthy of friendship, someone brave enough to admit she had been wrong. Cinderella overheard these quiet confessions from the hallway, and instead of feeling triumphant, she felt her heart swell with warmth, for she had always believed her stepsisters were capable of good, and perhaps all they needed was a chance, just one, to let it bloom. But Lady Drusilla was determined to maintain the idea that the stepsisters were superior to Cinderella, and thus forbade Cinderella from attending the ball, not out of cruelty, but fear that the prince might prefer Cinderella's natural grace over her daughter's practiced poise. Cinderella accepted this with her usual gentleness, returning to her chores with a faint smile, though her heart longed quietly for a moment of wonder. But that was when, shimmering like a moonbeam falling into a still pond, her fairy godmother appeared. With a flick of her sparkling wand and a voice soft as falling feathers, she transformed Cinderella's tattered dress into a gown spun from starlight, her worn shoes into delicate glass slippers, and a pumpkin into the grandest carriage the kingdom had ever seen. But before Cinderella left, she paused, glancing back at her stepsisters and the soft glow of candles flickering behind their windows, and she whispered, "I hope they find the happiness they're looking for." At the ball, as golden chandeliers cast light like liquid honey and violins sang melodies that seemed to float through the air like enchanted birds, Cinderella captivated everyone not with beauty alone, but with a kindness that could be felt like warm sunlight. And the prince, gentle, thoughtful, curious, was drawn to her immediately. Yet, even in this palace of dreams, Cinderella could not forget her stepsisters. Meanwhile, Anastasia and Drizella arrived at the ball in a carriage slightly crooked from haste, their nerves trembling like leaves in wind. But when they saw Cinderella on the grand staircase, radiant and confident, they realized they could no longer hide behind jealousy, for the truth glowed unmistakably. Cinderella deserved joy, and instead of being threatened by her sparkle, they chose to let it inspire them. With trembling courage, Anastasia approached Cinderella during a slow waltz and whispered, "We are sorry for everything." And Drizella nodded vigorously, tears glimmering in her eyes like dew. Cinderella, her heart vast as the ocean, embraced them softly and replied, "You were never my enemies. You were only lost." This moment of forgiveness cast a magic stronger than any spell, lifting from their hearts the weight they had carried for years. As the clock struck midnight, Cinderella rushed away, glass slipper slipping from her foot, leaving only wonder behind. When the prince began his search for the mysterious girl who fit the slipper, Anastasia and Drizella surprised everyone. They guided him straight to Cinderella, declaring, "She is the one you seek, and she is the one who deserves joy." Lady Drusilla, hearing her daughter's sincerity and witnessing their transformation, felt something within her begin to thaw, for nothing is more powerful than watching goodness bloom in those you love. When Cinderella married the prince, she insisted her stepsisters stand beside her as honored companions, not out of obligation, but genuine affection. And in the days that followed, the sisters dedicated themselves to becoming kinder. Anastasia learned music and played for children in the village. Drizella started helping elderly neighbors with errands, and Lady Drusilla apologized for her insecurities and opened a school for manners, not the stiff, prideful kind, but the kind that taught confidence through kindness. The kingdom soon celebrated not just the union of Cinderella and the prince, but the transformation of the stepsisters, proving that goodness is not something one is born with, it is something one chooses, again and again. And so the once broken household became a place of laughter and shared meals, of stories read aloud under warm lantern light, of forgiveness, growth, and a new kind of magic, the magic of choosing to change, of choosing to be good. And thus, in a kingdom where the past was often heavy, a family learned that even the most tangled hearts could find their way to the light, and Cinderella, with her gentle strength, became not just a princess, but a guide who helped her stepsisters discover the courage to become the best versions of themselves. And so they all lived not